democratic values, and the world is taking notice. Indeed, President Akufo-Addo has boldly exported the local love for periodic elections to ECOWAS, a recipe he advocates will ensure stability for growth within the sub-region and Africa as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, the NPP is proud of the president. The NPP believes wholeheartedly in the values the president stands by, and the NPP is asking Ghanaian voters to do the same. Ladies and gentlemen, on the foundation afforded by the common democratic values we are distilling, the NPP envisions a Ghana that is inclusive, knowledgeable, innovative, caring, clean, healthy, fully connected to the information age, balanced, and disciplined. The NPP desires a country where traditional values connect to the future and the inhibitions within her culture are refined in order to enable prosperity that protects the vulnerable in the community. Under the bold leadership of President Akufo-Addo, NPP is working to get Ghana to a place beyond poverty, petty political violence, and economic strangulation. Economic strangulation is illustrated by the following quotation from paragraph 32 to 34 of the budget statement for the year 2000. The year 2000, read by then NDC Minister for Finance, Honorable Kwame Pepra. Paragraph 32, and I quote, "Although the volume of exports of cocoa beans rose by 3% above the 1998 level to 336,043 tons, the average price fell by 12%. He produced more and yet he earned less." Paragraph 33. Despite a 9% increase in the volume of gold exports, the corresponding value of exports rose by only 3% over the 1998 level because of a significant drop in the average world price. Paragraph 34. Timber exports. The volume of exports rose by more than 4% to 433,000 cubic meters, but the rise was offset by a fall in average price. This is what we are still contending with. Even as we strive to increase production of our tradable raw materials, the prices keep falling. Oil, Ghana's most recent addition to its export portfolio, is about to suffer the same fate as the world moves towards cleaner energy, reducing investments in oil exploration and extraction in line with reducing demand. How then are we to fund the rising socioeconomic needs of our relatively young population? How do we sustain the delivery of quality education and health services for all, build roads, access reliable, affordable energy and housing, and create plentiful jobs and incomes? The NPP believes that if Ghanaian political society exerts as much energy and courage as has been invested in seeking and defining basic political values, then we can together leverage the accepted values as a platform for economic liberation. That leap requires visionary leadership. As His Excellency President Akufo-Addo has successfully stated, his vision as leader is to transform the economy and in the process modernize our society, consolidate good governance, and deepen internationally beneficial relations. This vision is expected to provide economic growth with jobs, adequate social capital in the form of quality education for appropriate skills, accessible and affordable health care, and adequate supporting public infrastructure, including energy, potable water, mass transport, communications, shelter, sanitation, and leisure. Inevitably, just as most of the rubbing of minds and actions towards extracting political values tends to rest on NPP and NDC rivalry, same will be expected of the fight for economic liberation. The NPP, under its leaders of the Fourth Republic, believes it continues to implement a vision that is gradually but significantly transforming economic relations and trends within Ghana and our partners worldwide. The international economic partner community assesses our record positively. Indeed, the President's management of COVID-19 and attendant swift economic rebound has earned plaudits worldwide. He has now turned his energies to the restructuring of international financial management structures, stressing the opportunity of post-COVID-19 rebuilding to demand reform of multilateral institutions that appear to fall short of meeting the challenges of today. Former President Kufuor also earned Ghana significant recognition in economic relief with his handling of the highly indebted poor countries initiative. That gave Ghana much needed debt relief, economic expansion to middle income status, access to the competitive Millennium Challenge account, and the discovery of oil in commercial quantity. His efforts at poverty reduction led to the award of the World Food Prize from the Hunger Project in 2011. The Hunger Project describes President Kufuor's economic and educational policies as leading to significant positive changes in Ghana during the first decade of the new millennium. They further describe his success as stemming from a combination of investments in agriculture, rural development, education, and health. In contrast, what is the position of former President and third-time likely candidate Mahama on the tone of political debate and its impact on economic transformation? Very little. He seems to live in a political world of his own, always lagging behind the real issues of the day. The country did not benefit from any clear input from his COVID-19 team. The country did not hear him on the referenda that led to the creation of new regions and the second referendum aimed at multi-party participation in local level elections, which was aborted at the instance of his party. The country is yet to hear him on the raging LGBTQI debate. The country is indeed waiting to hear his thoughts, if any, on the potential of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The country never heard him on President Akufo-Addo's bold steps to stamp out political vigilantism that led to inter-party dialogue refereed by the Peace Council and the passage of legislation against political thuggery. Rather, ladies and gentlemen, he has been harping on and on about 3 or 4 quite dissonant themes on his thank you pre-primaries campaign tour. In spite of evidence to the contrary, he complains about not winning the 2020 presidential election. He complains about abandoned infrastructure, and he complains about violence and corruption. Only losing candidate Mahama and his cabal in the NDC leadership continue to deceive themselves about the outcome of the 2020 elections. The heartwarming record of achievement that the conduct of the election chalked deserves better from one who seeks to lead the country come the next election. In fact, his posture on the election does not edify the sacrifices of Ghanaian voters who queued in defiance of COVID-19 to register and vote. Often, in the same breath, he reminds Ghanaian families of the pain of losing loved ones during post-vote collation by mischievously referring to the regrettable deaths. President Akufo-Addo is on record as saying that not a drop of Ghanaian blood is worth exchanging for electoral victory. And the steps he took against vigilantism literally ensured the most peaceful voting process ever. In the 2020 election, we didn't hear anything about vigilante groups. The BBC described the election as boring, as the Electoral Commissioner has said. True leadership would not focus on the unfortunate and painful situation for political gain to the detriment of national peace of mind. In any event, former President and candidate Mahama has a very poor record in terms of political violence. He is the one who brushed aside the infractions of the Talensi by-election when guns were flowing about, including in the vehicle of his party, National Party chairman. He is the one who tolerated the violent acts of Honorable Collins Dowd's brother, Naba, in the Dem Brunhafu region. And you all recall the kind of violent acts that were going on in the now Ahafo area. And he was the one who reacted to the incidents of Ayawasu West Wagon by-elections by boasting about his superior credentials relative to election violence, threatening to match the NPP boot for boot. Ladies and gentlemen, his song about abandoned projects is utterly misleading, and he keeps singing it on his thank you tour. Even though he has been answered over and over again. And typical of that is the Saglemi housing mess, where 5,000 homes for 200 million turned into less than 1,000 habitable homes, and the NMSI hospital contracts of $175 million for 7 district hospitals, of which only the Dodua Hospital was ever delivered. $175 million for 7 district hospitals. Only the Dodua Hospital was delivered, and yet he talks about abandoned projects. Ladies and gentlemen, the less said about John Mahama and corruption, the better. His very person has been cited in several matters, including the embryo purchase investigation by his own president and his identification as government official one in the international Airbus bribery scandal. But for the vigilance of HE Vice President Bawumia, Ghana would have lost over $1 billion on a shifting switch deal. His solution to corruption in the 2020 NDC manifesto is a nebulous scorpion sting approach without any specifics whatsoever. Your mama cannot be trusted to fight corruption. Presidential aspirant Mohammed's record and utterances do not address the key questions of the day. Even though he keeps repeating these assertions on his thank you tour, they do not address the questions, the real questions of the day. Those questions relate to economic and social transformation that addresses the gaps rehashed since 2000 by Honorable Kwame Pepra of the NDC. Ladies and gentlemen, it is on this premise that the NPP is asking to be continued in government beyond 2024 in order to ensure smooth, sustainable implementation of the policies that work for Ghanaians. We acknowledge that we are far from satisfactory solutions for all, but we believe strongly that John Mohammed's NDC is not the solution. An unlikely scenario that rejects the NPP because one is disappointed now will lead to utter despair under Mohammed's NDC. As we often tell you, he has no plan. You cannot trust him to manage public finances. You cannot trust him to generate employment. You cannot trust him to bridge the infrastructure gap. You cannot trust him to promote the knowledge economy, and you cannot trust him to engage effectively on the international scene. So, we are telling our people, we are telling the people who voted for the NPP that political anger does not solve economic problems. Short-term political anger does not solve economic problems. It is the cool, calm review of the trajectory of development under different regimes and a commitment to the best performing regime that will lead to salvation for the majority of our people. NPP cares. NPP values are consistent with your aspirations. NPP is working steadily to transform your circumstances based on the values of hard work, tolerance, initiative, and trust. NPP is helping Ghana reinvent itself. Who would you rather trust after 2024? A refreshed NPP staying on course with additional programs, or an NDC without a clear vision except hunger for power? In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, we believe in the NPP that true leadership is about pragmatic decisiveness, projecting into prevailing circumstances to achieve the most usefulness for the largest possible number of people, making do with what you have in the interest of the largest number of people. In the Ghanaian context, a strong focus on education, infrastructure, and business can better channel national energy into expansionary employment, incomes, social progress, and positive peer impact. NPP is the party of choice for such investments. Our record proves it in the Fourth Republic. Working with the NPP, we can create a buoyant and prosperous economy and a proud, disciplined, and industrious people at peace with themselves and their neighbors. Thank you very much for your attention.
Short summary so that our local audience will also appreciate what is being communicated. So we bring your mobile phones and other gadgets that you're using to record. Don't pick, just put what you want. Are we good to go? Okay, that's it.
Adolfo, we yeshia mo ha yenim se mrano a sesei da mrahye bedwam a efa LGBTQI no na sesei edi ahim munyina no na modi ho abogo sa ekoba na otwe mienu asem yensanie na de yen MPP fo ye hunu ne se saa nkomo no ehya ase na ano ohye pa atemdidie ne nsem kese enso ekọ nanim yi a yato ye bo a yetie ye ho yi ase information no bafo sese de ye dodo no a ka ne se edie na ma ye daso se Ghana fo a nti ebetimi ate agina akase ye gitum ana ye nyintum na wo kase fa ahodie nhihye no sabio ye betimi a kire se mra fa ahodie ene ye tete fa ahodie ene saa ne ye ebo abira ana se betimi agiato na enim se akopie mra hye bedwamu yi no obia wo ho akwanya so obekasa na yetie no wo ne emra ne ya adwen kasa asofo kasa ehemfo kasa enimdifo kasa twetwowro nso kasa ibi kasa tia binum kro omu kasa tia ne se omu de ko Supreme Court akohwe sede omu so ebeka sede akapen Supreme Court so ma ho ewo ho kwan se mra mu no omu hwe suban eda na di se ampa se suban bia na ye fa ahodie enhihye ya na nti ko nanim na mom na nenhye mu no nye no ne yepesi ye hyede di hu nkomo epense mu yenim se ba bia keka kɔ no ko yiye kire se obi ye kire na dwen na abamom ne ye fa firi de ekoso ababa mienu miense bia ye fa firi mu no ene se ye nyanka asem no kra ewie no ye hu se kamamika bia mamuo no ni nyina so ne fa pimpa ne se obi abeka no na dwen obi abeka ne bo so asem edu ba bi obi wo ha na ne bo so asem mu ahyi kakra atendidie ni se bi ebuo enim enso de ekoso ya information ni ko fom na ye ti ye ho ase no ame ye hu se kamamika bia mamuo no papa ne se asem bi ha obi a wonhye ne so wonka ne kasa bo anhye ne yem na abema na kasa ye to so mienu si ye hu se obia obi bi ka bia no o ka gina pintin se eya wo nhihye men kwotete obi achi evi se ya ma akwanya se kasade a na waboa wo ho se obegi atum se o kasa bia no obegina ho ache se ampa ugitum se ye o kasa eno so boa evi se ye ba bi nyina ye hu wo mo ka asem a ye begi atum ye hu wo mo nso mo ka asem a ye nyintum ni nyina aboa na kanuma minka bi no egina na ne kase pa a ye hu ene se ye bre ye ho ase ema ye ho oyonko ede na no to twade akura no a no aye din na nso aka ho de eno no eboa papa na saade na aba ya manyo se mu mi firi bere a impinu dunkro ye koto aba sebi oman mu ka de na binum yam hihye omkra se ye bebo ye hutuo sede ye twiye kasa na yesi ye beto aba ana ye nto aba yesi ye be ye nwoma foforo ye betwire ye din foforo ana ye ntwire ye din foforo na covid bebo mu ema nkrofo kansem kase pa efa abato enso Ghana obiye ni ho otwe ne nsa ebo obiye ni ho ofa atu ebo no yonko yetimi gina ye na so ege ye ho tumu ema ye kwatwire ye din eto aba fefefe bibia ko so bosumi nsia pepepepe a bi sida electoral commission adwuma ye no e bi sida se covid hwina no pa utimi ko ye sadi ye koto santene kwatwire din sa koto santene e ko ye verification sa koto santene koto aba yare na antia tese mai mu ha e ya de bia e wo se boye ho aba so se ampa Ghana ye ka bi mami ka bi mamuo no agina ne na so na eno ne ka se saa hwehunye yehunu afiri abakosem hu ene yenyina so efa ka mami ka bi amamuo no ye de saa hoɔden no kohye ye botom fa ahodie mu a nke beboaye afise de ye haw kese pa sesi ene ye botom sebe ya mebunu nyuma beba sebe ya kwan sem sikasem school sem ya pomudi sem sikasem kanea mu ewire nyinem kanea fango ka sika dan tua dan ho sika ni na no sikasem nti kwan be ne be fa so a se si a yamanyo semi etini yi a ye nyina ye tie ho ase a ye koye nimi ye betimi di ahoden no a na wotwe mienu se ahoden pa akọ LGBTQ amenya ahoden wawo krofo ni abri papa be ne ye de sa ni bri no akọhye ye botum fa ahodie semu ye timi apagya ye hihye ya efa edwumasem eni se ahokyere ebekofo ene ne ye kase wo sisi hwe a NPP efisi ye share Fourth Republic yasi aban bia ba ye NPP bia ye boye ho modern ewo kwan enuasa bebre so a ye di siesie man kakra beduru ba bi no obehunu se ye kurade no mu a ye tumpon ekoye nim esiesie adwumasem esiesie school sem esiesie hospital sem esiesie akwan sem esiesie bibia chen NDC fo no omampanyi kufo baaye de obeto oturo kan otime de yekọ hipik ntempa eyi yefiri mu amfie nwotwe no opagya yefiri hipik ne kyese na yebubu kojo to ye da hospital ye di nsu asi yeso so omampanyi pagya yi mu ko mede income asa na ofiri hɔ akɔ Millennium Challenge account ba so na dwuma Paul yenti onya bi ba Ghana ɔsɛ nya afango emaye ansa na wɔkɔ na dwuma ho ani sonti wɔgye nkunimdia bodin kɛseɛ bi pa ɛwɔ amanɔne ansa na wɔdane ama na nado nso ɔno nso yɛ NPP ni a ɛnɛ yɛ nyinaa nim ɛkwan otimi de yɛfa so ɛfa covid a nyame nkyade ɛne wiase afa na nyinaa gye tum sɛ adwumadi odi ne covid ho akandi a odi yɛ no edamfua ɛno nti na nɛ yɛnyɛ economy no pagya ntententententem prom afiri covid mo kyɛn wiase afa na bebre na sɛ ɛba ka mma minka bi ɛba amanyo sɛm a bibia na NPP NDC ne yɛde afei so na ɛba botom no nso saa na tie wɔ sɛ yɛde fei so sɛ yɛde politics ne fei so economy so wɔ sɛ yɛde fei so nti wo sisin deɛ ɔmampanyi kufoɔ ne nanado yɛ na wɔhwɛ deɛ NDC foɔ betimi ayɛ ɛno ne yɛ ka sɛ wohwɛ mu paa owura dwomama a wadi akonnwa bi pɛn a wapre dibre adi nkuguo a wɔsan apre sɛ dibre no ne nante a wɔnante sisi ne kasa mu no bibia nkyerɛ sɛ ɔmo wɔ akwanya ɔmo wɔ enisuade hunu a ɔmo betimi apagya yebotom fa ahodie ɛde akɔ animu yɛntie ne nka kwan bia so a ɛkyerɛ sɛ ɔbaa sɛbe yɛ adwumasɛm obetimi asi factory one district one factory asi buru wɔ ha no a yɛtɔkɔ so sie no ontimi nkyɛn deɛ commander baako pɛ no ɛyɛ ɔkɔkra asi kyerɛ de bɛkyerɛ sɛ hɔ no wɔfetee no ontimi ɛnyɛ bibia ɛkyerɛ kwan ɔde school bɛfa so free SHS ebesi nɛ ontimi nkyerɛ yɛn sɛ ɔbaa obetwam anaa kwan ɔbɛfa so obenya sika atuyaka wɔnam na ɔse ne hospital osi yɛgya ne wiram yɛaka sɛ hospital yɛnya ne wiram na mmom no bosia ɔbɔɔyɛ no sɛ ɔde bɛsi hospital wantimi ansi ɔno no gya ne wiram ɛne yɛyaba ɛne yɛbɛyɛ ho sikasɛm yie ne asiesie sɛbe deɛ kofoɔ de gyaa no kora mfie nwɔtwe wantimi ansi wohwɛ affordable housing a deɛ kofoɔ de gyaa ɔmo ankɔ ho koraa ɛna ɔmo adeɛ ɔmo kaa sɛ ɔmo kɔyɛ nso ɔmo de sikasɛm kɔtoo parliament anim ɛma yɛn nyinaa yɛmmra hyɛ bedwam ɛkyɛ wɔn bosia 200 million sɛ ɔmo fa nkɔyɛ adwuma no bosia yɛn nyinaa yɛabɔ atia yɛn no ɔmo fa nkɔsi adan mpem num 5,000 ewi akyire no sika nasa adan a ɔmo asi ne hɔ no enduru apem koraa less than 1,000 habitable homes sika no asa ɛno nti yɛka sɛ John Mahama sese no wagye NDC abɔso a wayɛ na dwen sɛ obedi wɔn anim sɛbe ɔnyɛ obi a obetimi asakyera yɛgyina brɛ sese ti ne nsɛm na yɛ ano wɔkɔ aprɔ no a saa na aprɔ bɔ no a wɔde piri di brɛ wɔ abedi NDC fo anim no nsɛm ni bi wɔ ɔka ya na wɔde nkyini atom kakra ya ɔtae ka sɛ election no kura yɛwia ɔno nkoa na ɔto saa anwom no ɔno nkoa na ɔto saa anwom If the election will be any say a year for pa and ne echo was for share will win it. Or my friend electoral commissioner. So me boom and chile warm. Tienra, Kaksa fe ho a chile echo was for quite of fast a year election. A yen shensu dear be abedahwama, your mam penny and adu. We see the book, it me catch the almost say, almost election. No munyas almost is Zambra, almost the almost to see a conyoso or mumpeso basic form. Obia, Obas or book and mammy cabia mamu who buy. Obia, who need be a quay any moon, some more mine. Your two so a bar and a efe. Until I was so bia and she share but one befe. Sir, and no man penny, and I do it me Gina, echoas, and penny for any more can, every say, a banner 2020. Na emotion na efe enti when ya sa akokodro no enya sa atumi no e kasa sa na mom jo mama nko ade ontie odede nam eboda wuro se yewia wako Supreme Court wa anfa graphic kura anko anko kire e kwan ye fa so a yewia abo atinte wuro na ade ko ne nam ko enso de nam bo apro he kan sem kese sansem no kan e hwan kema minka bia mamu a break can man keep your mamu as. Intiasram on your beer, we will be monobi, fufubi, catch a yen, a besachra, a bar, said the Ghana for a citizen, Tibia, Timun, won't miss some, the moon, ye NPP 40, yes, Ghana for say, said your moon who said be a bar, such a ban, when ye deal with him. Yet, Dodjumana yen. E bugana for ye nim se enwie peyo ye nim se ye nye ni nyina ma ho ye nim se ahokyere wo ho titru covid ba yi na covid de bede na ahokyere ma se be wo adwuma wo hotel a na se ye ntu kwan emeda hotel ho a ye ntua wo ka nti ye sikotena fie e ya ahokyere bi aba wo so na ni nyina mu no aban e mia nani aye nhihye ya e be pija economy nhihye ya aban ye edisi covid ano mampanyi na nado gidi wiase afa na nyina nti eba kandi eba abadaye eba baatan a wo hwe Ghana so ama Ghana akọ n'anim a eye NPP edu nti ye hwese 2024 mo ba to akoso ne ya nante ye hwese 2024 sebe na nado na ne bere aba wiye ne de obi muno abetena ho nso muno no ba papa na nado ye ni nyina no eye NPP dia ye toaso na afi nipa foforo no oba no so onso de na dwene kese abeye nsachiraye a ehia so ye na said ye hunu se bibia NPP for ho na o man na iko nanim yetimi atoaso saa enye saa wo ye wadwen se ene wo ho kirew wo ye wadwen se ene se bi covid enti eni niema ba ko mienu bi nti emebunu ya no mse online meboa omse online ye bibia wo online tu nim online no ene wiase no online na ekọ ene wiase no online nti ya sudie ya sedie ene se obi a wontimi nko online ya hye ne eboa no wo kọ eni se ye suda ye se epese ye san ye chi ebise ye san ye chi di a ye besie ni se ye de ehisem ebo akoto ababone ama NDC aba oba reverse no kura ohunu ko reverse ne kura no do akoto dichi no o san ne chi ne kura no obeyira akoto dichi yetimi fie ni nto omo so ti esre mo bia mfa amanyo mu ahisem mo bia mfa ene ahokyere enhwere daachi papa no a eba no efsi ye hihye na ye ye no kɔ nanim asi ye si dan ye fapem no den apagya ya flow afi ya san to aso akɔ yanim 2 terms ya flow ye kɔ so ya san to aso akɔ yanim ugesi hɔ a NDC for